Spoilers. Spoilers never change. The infinite spoiler train doesn't stop for anyone, as we've just had a bunch of info drop on the upcoming Fallout Magic the Gathering crossover set. Here's a brief overview before we go over all of the cards that were spoiled. There are going to be 4 new Fallout themed commander decks, each coming in with about 40 new cards each, and just like the Doctor Who set, there are going to be collector boosters which contain blinged out versions of the commander cards, including borderless Vault Boy cards, Pip-Boy framed cards, serialized bobblehead cards, along with foils, surge foils, and other extended arts. Let's quickly go over the decks. First up, we have Scrappy Survivors, which is led by Dogmeat, Ever Loyal. Dogmeat is a 3 mana Naya 3/3 legendary dog with an ETB of mill 5 cards, then return an aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. And whenever enchanted or equipped creature attacks, create a junk token. Now, junk tokens are an artifact that you can tap and sacrifice it to exile the top card of your library, and you may cast it this turn, activate only as a sorcery, effectively granting us a free impulse effect. So the theme of this deck is based around auras, equipments, and survivors, with the Wizards of the Coast team saying they wanted to have a deck that shows how you, the player, in the Fallout games level up with perks and skills. And one of those perks we got to see was Idolize. Idolize is a 2 mana aura that says, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of non-land permanents you control. Effectively, it's a super exalted effect. It also reminds me of All That Glitters. The next deck we have is Science. Finally, an energy-based commander. Science is helmed by Dr. Madison Lee. Dr. Lee is a 3 mana Jeskai legendary human scientist, a 2/3 that says, whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get an energy. Of course, energy is an alternative resource that was last seen back in Kaladesh. Dr. Lee has 3 abilities: tap, pay 1 energy, target creature gets +1/+0, gains trample and haste until end of turn. Next, tap and pay 3 energy, draw a card. And finally, tap and pay 5 energy, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. In this deck, you also get Rex Cyberhound from Fallout New Vegas, a 3 mana Azorius 2/2 legendary robot dog that says, whenever Rex deals combat damage to a player, they mill 2 cards and you get 2 energy. Rex has pay 2 energy to exile a creature card in a graveyard and put a brain counter on it. Activate only as a sorcery. Rex has all activated abilities of all cards in exile with a brain counter on them. Rex is very similar to cards like Patchwork Crawler and Experiment Kraj, which both see very fringe play, but the fact that Rex is a repeatable source of energy generation, I wonder if he'll make the cut. In any case, if you haven't already, make sure to pick up your Aetherwork Marvels or Gonti's Aether Heart, as it seems like a no-brainer in this deck. Next up, we have Hail Caesar, led by Caesar, Legion's Emperor, a 4 mana Manu legendary human soldier, a 4/4 that says, whenever you attack, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, choose 2. Create 2 1/1 red and white soldier creature tokens with haste that are tapped and attacking. You draw a card and lose 1 life, and Caesar deals damage equal to the number of creature tokens you control to target opponent. This is an extremely powerful card. Not only does this ability trigger whenever you attack, meaning you can play Caesar and immediately attack with something else and get this ability to trigger, the ability also fuels its own cost. It generates you card advantage, and you can output some serious damage. The Hail Caesar deck is touted as your typical army/soldier deck. It's going to be interesting to see what other new cards we can get to help further this theme. One of the cards that was shown off was Gary Clone, a 2 mana 1/3 human citizen with Squad 2, a returning mechanic from the Warhammer 40k decks. You can pay an additional 2 mana as many times as you like when you cast this card. If you do, create that many copies. And whenever Gary Clone attacks, each creature under your control named Gary Clone gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Gary seems to go perfectly well with the recently released Nanogene conversions from the Doctor Who set. Next we have Mutant Menace, probably my favourite deck of the bunch, led by the Wise Mothman, a 4 mana Sultai insect mutant, a 3/3 that says, flying, whenever the Wise Mothman ETBs or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. We'll come back to rad counters in a second. And whenever one or more non-land cards are milled, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of non-land cards milled this way. So rad counters, aka radiation, would obviously make an appearance in this set. And this is what the Mutant Menace is focused on, radiation. Radiation says, at the beginning of your first main phase, if you have any rad counters, mill that many cards. For each non-land card milled this way, you lose 1 life and a rad counter. So radiation is something that naturally wears off over time, but if you get too much of it, you just might end up dying to it. And Mothman's second ability goes perfectly well with this new card, Feral Ghoul, a 3 mana black zombie mutant, a 2/2 with menace that says, whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Feral Ghoul. When Feral Ghoul dies, each opponent gets a number of rad counters equal to its power. I can't wait to combo this card and get it to 100 power and zap everybody with a deadly dose of radiation. And if I can't do it with Feral Ghoul, I can't wait to do it with this next card. Rad Storm, a 4 mana blue instant that simply says, Storm, proliferate. Move aside all of history all at once. Here's my new favourite minimal text card. Poison lovers rejoice, you just got your new combo kill card. Don't forget, you can also proliferate energy, loyalty counters, lore counters, and plenty of other relevant counters too. Next we have Intelligence Bobblehead, a 3 mana artifact that taps for a mana of any colour, and you can pay 5 and tap it to draw cards equal to the number of bobbleheads you control. So in Fallout, bobbleheads were items you could find throughout the world that you could pick up to increase one of 7 stat points, known as Special. Strength, Perception, Endurance, Charisma, Intelligence, Agility, and Luck. So we can expect at least 6 more bobbleheads to appear during the spoiler season in January. It will be interesting to see if they're all mana rocks with abilities stapled onto them, or if some of them are going to be something else like equipment or standard artifacts. Next we have a crazy piece of removal in the form of Vats, a 4 mana black instant that has Split Second, meaning nobody can respond to it except for mana abilities and turn morph cards face up. Choose any number of target creatures with equal toughness, destroy the chosen creatures. Obviously this card is excellent at killing tokens, or Gary clones, and even typal decks like goblins or elves who usually have symmetrical power and toughness effects, meaning a lot of those cards are likely to die to this single piece of removal. Next there's Vault 101, Birthday Party, a 4 mana white saga that has 3 chapters. Chapter 1, create a 1/1 white human soldier token and a food. Chapter 2 and 3, put an aura or equipment card from your graveyard or hand into play and attach it. The designers have confirmed that there will be a number of sagas that tell the stories of different vaults from across Fallout's history. As far as this one goes, being able to cheat something like Eldrazi Conscription or Argentum Armor into play and attach it for free shouldn't be overlooked. Next, we got to look at the first lot of Vault Boy alternate art cards. There are 9 in total, and here are the first 5 that have been spoiled. These can only be found in collector boosters. So we've got Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Crucible of Worlds, Wasteland, and Command Tower. Alpha Deathclaw is a 6 mana Golgari 6/6 with Menace and Trample. When it ETBs or becomes monstrous, destroy target permanent. And for 7 mana, it has Monstrosity 4. Monstrosity is an ability you can pay at instant speed, and that creature gains a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number next to the Monstrosity keyword. If you ask me, this seems like a tiny bit of an upgrade to our Lord and Saviour, Colossal Dreadmaw. If this bad boy resolves, at worst you're getting a 2-for-1, and if it survives a turn, you may even get a 3-for-1. This is a fantastic card. Speaking of fantastic cards, we have Nuka-Cola Vending Machine, a 3 mana artifact with pay 1, tap, create a food token, and whenever you sacrifice a food, create a tapped treasure token. You are not going to believe this, but I think Vending Machine has finally broken Academy, Manufactor, and KCI. It's worth noting though that this is not infinite with just Academy Manufacturer by itself, as its replacement effect and the 3 tokens it will create will come into play tapped too. So you'll need something like KCI or something as simple as Peregrine Took in order to go infinite. Next we have Mr. House, President and CEO. A fan favorite from Fallout New Vegas, Mr. House is a 3-mana Mardu 04 legendary human that says, whenever you roll a 4 or higher, create a 3/3 colorless robot artifact creature token. If you rolled a 6 or higher, instead create that token and a treasure token. And pay 4 and tap, roll a 6-sided dice plus an additional 6-sided dice for each mana from treasure spent to activate this ability. Mr. House is our first worthwhile dice rolling commander that can generate a ton of value. Generating treasures isn't that hard, so making full use of their second ability is easy. But don't forget, you can make even more use out of the cards from Unfinity and Baldur's Gate. The 3 metallic dragons, brass, copper and gold all roll d20s, as well as a number of other cards from the set. And don't forget about Barbarian class too. Also, there's dice rolling mechanics from Unfinity, so Cosmo and friends definitely have a home here. Our last preview card is a really nice stacks piece that I can't wait to try out. Overencumbered, a 2-mana aura, enchant opponent. When Overencumbered enters the battlefield, enchanted opponent creates a clue, a food, and a junk token. At the beginning of combat on enchanted opponent's turn, that player may pay 1 for each artifact they control. If they don't, creatures can't attack this combat. You already know how much I love Pillow Fort, and not only that, players having an abundance of artifacts isn't out of the question anyway. If you can find a way to flicker this aura, it's likely no one will be able to attack you for the rest of the game. To wrap up previews, we got shown some of the best full art lands to date. We got 5 Vault Dweller lands that look amazing, as well as 5 isometric lands that throw back to the previous old school versions of the game. Whew, and that about does it. That's everything we know about the upcoming Fallout set that's dropping in March next year. Official previews start in January, which is right about the time Ravnica Remastered releases. And well, you know what they say,